Is everybody all right? You feel good? All right. Now let's talk about what hypnosis. I'm going to show you how hypnosis works, why it's so powerful. You'll discover everything you need to know about the hypnotic process, and you're going to understand it perfectly when we get through with this particular process. To understand how hypnosis works, it's real important to have a quick overview of how your mind works. And there's your mind. Like mine, it's
right away.
You saw it right away. Like mine, it's fairly empty at this point. But from our, now look, for those of you who studied mental health, you know, this whole mind model may mean nothing compared to what you learned before. I don't even know if it's true now, but it's a good way to incorporate the philosophy of what we do for lack of anything better. So we have three minds. We basically have the conscious mind, we have the subconscious mind, and a lot of people like to even class it more and say we have classify it more and have an unconscious mind. Fine. Well, let's quickly get rid of this because the real important stuff is in other places. I think the unconscious mind is just a deeper level of working into the subconscious. But if you want to identify it and assign some characteristics to it, well, let's do it. ABF, and I have an outline of this that you'll get. ABF, we find in these deeper levels, which we'll call unconscious for sake of conversation, is your autonomic body functions. That's your heart beating, your eyes blinking, things in that order, your respiration that you don't think about consciously, it just happens. IMM, if you're working with immune system buildup, you really need to be down in this deeper level. For quite a number of years, probably not quite a number, probably 3 years, in one of my offices down in South Florida, we were sharing the space with a doctor who had a walk-in medical clinic. And he was specializing back then in giving AIDS tests during the height of AIDS when he really couldn't do anything. And he always liked me to break the bad news when the tests came out positive, you see. But we found working with those people, we could continuously build up their immune systems, and we could build up the T cells that were required to keep these people online tremendously with hypnosis. So you need these deeper levels for that. PLM, which is past life memory, seems to be located in the deeper levels. When a lot of people are very interested in past lives, but when you're looking at these type of regressions, your accurate regressions with instant detail. What's your name? Where do you live? How old are you? Who you married to? Joe Jones, Cleveland, Judy Jones, the whole 9 yards come flipping right off is in the deeper levels. These other regressions and these other levels are what we call more often than not wannabe regressions or conscious regressions. What's your name? Gee, I knew it a minute ago. Give me a minute. I'll see if I can come up with it. Well, come on. You know, how long does it take to get a name? So let's forget about that. Let's move now up into the real meat and potatoes where we work in every day in our work. Let's start with the conscious mind. The conscious mind has 4 functions that we're concerned about. Each one of these functions have a very specific characteristic. First, it's the analytical mind. Analytical. What does that mean? Well, that's the part of your mind that's able to analyze a pretty simple problem and come up with an answer to that problem. For example, Ben is driving down a road in Honduras. What side of the road do you drive on down there? Anyone you want, right? It don't matter in Honduras. On the left side?
Oh, on the right side.
On the right side. Like here?
Like here.
Okay. So he's driving down the road, right? All of a sudden you hear, psh, psh, and thunk, 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 thunk. What happened? But what happened? You got a flat tire, right? What are you going to do about it? And then what are you going to do? And then what are you going to do? You're going to fix the tire. You're going to change the tire, right? Okay. You've analyzed it. You figured out what you're going to do. What would you do? Same scenario.
Call the auto club.
Call the auto club. She has a cellular phone, right? It's a lot smarter than you.
No, I just don't want to change the tire.
Gene, what are you going to do?
I changed the tire.
You changed the tire. What are you going to do?
I get out and act like I was going to change the Somebody came by.
Some Gene had come by and fix it. That's what my mother used to do. My mother was great at this. I mean, she used to get tickets all the time. Well, not tickets. She used to get pulled over for speeding all the time. My mother was one of the most gorgeous women. I mean, she's just stunningly gorgeous when she was young. And she'd always make sure when she got pulled over, she got out of the car so the officer could see this, you see. And then she'd start to cry and little tears would come down. I never saw her get a ticket. She was getting whipped over all the time. I mean, hysterical. I said, Mom, you're really good. She goes, hey, flaunt it if you got it. Don't worry about it.
She missed her phone.
Oh, she would have been terrific. So you see, that's how the analytical mind works. You analyze a problem and you figure out the best way to fix it, and that's what you do. That's simple. The next part of the conscious mind is what really causes us the problems that people come to a hypnotist for. This is the rational part of your conscious mind. The rational part of your conscious mind is the part of you that must, it has no choice. It must give you a reason why you do the things you do. If you don't have a reason why you do the things you do, you become anxious, nervous, frustrated, and if it goes on long enough, it leads to serious mental illness. Mental hospitals are full of people whose rational part, whose rational part of their conscious mind broke down and they truly don't have a clue why they do what they do. Now, the problem with this part of our mind, though, is the reason the rational part of your conscious mind gives you why you do the things you do is like ivory soap. It's 99, 44, 100% wrong. But it sounds so good. Anybody we've got ex-smokers in here, don't we? Mm-hmm. I smoke because. I liked it. I remember hearing my mother say, I smoke because it calms me, it relaxes me. It gives me time to pause and gather my thoughts. So when I started smoking, I said, that's a good reason. I can live with that. Mm-hmm. I smoke it because it calms me, relaxes me, gives me time to pause and gather my. It's none of those reasons. But because it sounded good, I was then able to go through the rest of my day without worrying about that particular problem, you see. It's always wrong. It's always wrong. And this is a real handicap for people who study normal talk therapy. Because the normal talk therapist, the psychologist, the mental health counselor, they're stuck working in this area. And even if it comes to like a phobia, let's say, or a deadly fear or a strong fear, I can't drive over a bridge. I'm so frightened about going over bridges. The doctor or the licensed mental health counselor is going to start working on your fear of bridges. I will guarantee you, I don't even know the case history yet. That person's not afraid of a bridge, I'll tell you right now. And you'll see that in a case history we're going to talk about. But this is the reason the conscious mind focuses on and gives them why they have this thing, see? So this is really a real handicap for the conscious level talk therapist to work, because whatever they tell you, you got to ignore it. Now, I tell this to every class. Once in a while, somebody listens to me. Most of the time, they don't. That's okay. When a client comes into your office with a problem, they're going to talk to you from this point of reference. If you listen to them, you're going to liable to believe them. If you believe them, you're probably not going to be able to fix them. So when they come in with these symptoms, people come in with symptoms. Other professions call them problems. We call them symptoms. For example, depression. Somebody will come in with depression. I'm depressed. Well, they're going to tell you why they're depressed. And if you listen to them, it's just going to depress you. It's a very depressing thing, depression, you see. You have to learn to learn to do what I call conversation, where you get a clipboard, piece of paper. People have this burning need to tell you why they are the way they are. Now think of it. Does that make any sense? They've been to several doctors, psychiatrists, faith healers, acupuncturists. Mm-hmm. They haven't fixed them. Now they come to you and they tell you why they are the way they are. If that's true, how come nobody else upline fixed it? So the reality of it is that has no bearing on why they're there. So if you listen to them, you're doomed. You just got to go. Think about anything while they're talking to you. Think about your next business deal. Think about where you want to go on vacation. Maybe the new car you want to buy. Think of anything else, and every once in a while I go, But don't listen to them. You're going to go way off on an angle you don't want to know about. And now, obviously, if they're coming to you to stop smoking, don't worry. I mean, you don't have to listen to any of this stuff. So you just let's do it and get it over with, you say. But when you're dealing with those symptoms of problems like depression and phobias, just don't listen to them. They'll drive you nuts because they don't have the answer you're looking for.
I want to share with you, Jerry. William's last psychiatrist said that the young man could listen to those problems for a half hour, 45 minutes at a time. The older he got, the shorter the time frame he had. Looking for 2 minutes.
Yep.
That would be it. We'll go and do something.
Yep. She's a doctor that she for the camera used to listen to people's problems for a couple of hours. Then as he grew older and older, it finally got down to he realized 2 minutes was more than enough torture for him, you see. And that's true. But most of you won't do that. You'll sit and listen because you have these caring souls and all this kind of stuff. I mean, give me a break. Okay, so that's the rational part of the conscious mind. The next part is, what is that TV show? You remember the one, the guy walks in, welcome to my neighborhood, and he hangs up and takes his sweater off. Mr. Rogers. A nice little guy, but I'm sure you wouldn't want to go to combat with this guy, would you? He's really a wuss, isn't he? Nothing personal, Mr. Rogers, but yeah. In our world, we call that WP, we call it willpower. Willpower was never meant to give us behavioral change. I want you to think of willpower as mental adrenaline. Now, you know, adrenaline is a chemical that we excrete in times of stress. You ladies, for example, coming out of a mall at night, really dark, all of a sudden you realize your car is really far away in the dark part of the shopping mall and you got to walk there. You can feel that adrenaline, that fear building. You get that fight or flight feeling about you. And every step just doesn't seem to really gain on the distance to the car. You all had that feeling once in a while? I've had that feeling once in a while. Well, but then it goes away. You get in, you go, and it leaves, you see. Well, mental adrenaline is the same thing. Willpower was never meant to give us behavioral change. Take an example of stop smoking. Person says to themselves, I'm going to stop smoking, that's it. Or they go to one of these programs like Smoke Eaters or Smoke Enders where they make them lick a dirty ashtray. You ever saw that one? Oh, God. It is gross, but that's part of the aversion therapy they did. And you make up your mind, I'm never going to smoke again. That's it. And you know, if you keep doing this every single day, you can stay off of cigarettes 5, 6, 7 months. But one day, let me get another. One day, Pete is going to a happy hour because one of his nurses are retiring after 30 years of honorable service. So they all go down to the local bar, you know, one of those with the hanging plants kind of a. Now, Pete's been off of cigarettes now for 6 or 7 months. And he's walking past the bar and he sees a friend of his at the bar. And, hey, Phil, how you doing? And there is a pack of El Ropos on the bar. Happened to be your brand, El Ropos, for many years, you see. And for some reason, it makes no sense whatsoever. You give me those. I just want to taste what those things taste like. So after 6 months, you light an El Ropo, and what's it taste like? No, not good. It tastes terrible. I've quit smoking lots of times. Have you ever done that? And that first one goes, oh my God, how did I ever do this? And you put it out. But you whack down a couple of bourbons and branch, and the next thing you know, you're going, we have another one of them. I don't know how I ever did this. You whack on it, you say. Then you're driving home and you say, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to pick up a pack. I'll keep it in the car. Maybe once in a while I'll have one if the traffic's bad. Well, within 2 days, you're right back up to the level of smoking that you were before you quit 6 months ago. Now, you slam the packs down. You're so angry with yourself. I'll never do it again. Well, your subconscious mind already knows you're going to fail. It says, yeah, right, pal. And the best thing you're going to do is hold out for about 72 hours. Then you do it. Now you're really subconsciously programmed for failure. So now you do it again. And this time when you put the cigarettes down, instantly you need a cigarette more than you've ever needed it before in your entire life. So willpower is not going to cut it, but that's part of our conscious mind. The last part of the conscious mind is called TM. Now, we all know what TM is. Come on, what's TM?
Meditation.
Louder for the camera.
Transcendental meditation.
Wrong, but really a good try. I just sucked you in on that one. Thanks for being my straight man. Temporary memory. We only keep up at the conscious level that memory that we need to get through our daily life or what's important to us. Our spouse's names, if we have them, our kids' names and addresses, phone numbers, and how to get back and forth to work. If we don't need something in our life anymore, we allow that memory to drift down out of our ability to remember it. Like my wife and I added it up the other day. We've lived in 24 different places in our life. Geez, one step ahead of the cops, it must be. And I remember when we first got married, I was just a young guy in the Navy, and we were living in Virginia Beach. When Virginia Beach was just a little tiny place and nobody was there, it was great. But if you asked me what my phone number was in Virginia Beach, I wouldn't have a clue. Why? It's not important for me to remember that anymore. So it's not up there. So temporary memory is just our working. It's like, if you go with a computer, it's like RAM memory. RAM memory is that memory above the hard drive memory. That's what my son told me the other day. Now, that's all the conscious mind does. It doesn't have any other characteristic. It doesn't do anything else for us. And all of this stuff is really useless from a transformation point of view for an individual. That's why people go to psychologists for months and years and there's no change. They're trying to affect change to a conscious intervention, and it's not going to happen. Who we are, what we are, everything we've known and how we've responded to it, and a leap-off point for where we can go is all in this level of mind called the subconscious. Now, I want you to think of this part of you as like a computer, because it is. It's in many ways similar to the organic computer that you can buy today, only tremendously more powerful. When you buy a computer, it has some software in it nowadays that come with it. Usually you get some office package or something. And so we get some software that comes with this computer. But basically it's unprogrammed. The software is in there, but nothing's put into the software. Now, the first thing that's put in here is PM. And this is program. This is permanent memory. You have never forgotten one thing. You have never forgotten anything you've heard, anything you've experienced, anything you've tasted, anything you've done, anything you've overheard. Every single bit of information that you've ever come up against, every feeling you've ever felt is right in there in permanent memory. And that's why one of the reasons hypnosis is so awesomely powerful. Through hypnotic techniques, we can access this old memory bank and we can discover what happened to you, what caused the problem that you're feeling up at the conscious level. Very powerful. Think of this part of you as a video camera with the additional abilities of taste and smell, for example, and you might be getting pretty close. Permanent memory. The next thing in here are your habits. Now, how many habits do we have? What did Carl Sagan used to say, that astronomer? Billions and billions. Well, yeah, but really, no, it boils down to three categories of habits. I know, I look out at you guys, and I can see Ben because he's such a nice looking fella. I'll bet that you have one or two good habits, don't you? Mm-hmm. Sure you do. Penny, on the other hand, no lying. You have one or two bad habits, don't you?
Oh, so I've been told.
But most of our habits aren't good habits or bad habits. Most of our habits are what we call utilitarian habits. We automatically respond in a certain way when the same stimuli comes on all the time. Mm-hmm. One of the great controllers of mankind is a little thing. This might look a little bit different than the one in your house, but it works the same way. It's called a telephone. When a telephone rings, what do?
Answer. Say hello.
You answer it. Now, let's be honest. How many of you say, "Heh, I hate this," because somebody in every class says, "Yeah, well, that's what I do," and I don't believe them for a second. But how many of you, when the phone rings, says, "It's not important, I'm not going to answer it"? Hey, there's one over there. There's another one. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Well, maybe they're telling the truth. But the overwhelming majority of the world can be engaged in something extremely important. And when that phone rings, they instantly stop. There's a woman on trial here for manslaughter. Well, not here, but it was on 2020, the show the other night, where she was bathing her kid, young baby. Phone rang. She just left the kid for a second to go answer the phone. She come back and the kid's dead, drowned. Now, what's more important, your kid or the phone? The phone, obviously, isn't it? So we automatically respond that way. There are other things in your life that happen that you will automatically respond to every single time. And that's mostly the way our habits are. And we have good habits, bad habits, and utilitarian. And there's lots of different types of habits under each one of those categories. But they're all located down here in this part of our mind, or our habits. The next part is our emotions. Now, the conscious mind is not built to generate emotion. Emotion is generated in the feeling level. This is the feeling level mind. It's generated in the feeling level subconscious mind. Whenever you need emotion, it's like a camera shutter opening between the subconscious and the conscious. That emotion flows up there and you feel it. And it lasts as long as you need it, and then it goes away and goes on back. Emotions. And it really affects us. But let's forget how emotions affect us in the big dramatic things. Let's just take a small thing where you just had a little bit of emotion over something. And then when you get done, you say, because the emotion made you say something stupid. Did any of you ever say anything stupid? I never have in my entire life. And you hear yourself saying, why did I say that? Why did I do that? It was so stupid. But your primitive, emotional, feeling level subconscious mind says, yeah, but it felt so good to get that out, you see. Our feeling level mind, make no doubt about it, it works there. The next part is a very powerful part of our subconscious mind and a critically important part of it. For those of you who can't read my chicken scratch, that says protective. It is our protective part of our mind. It must protect us against danger, real or imagined. And something imagined to the subconscious mind in detail is real. And many times it protects us in ways we wish it wouldn't. Let me give you an example. I remember this lady because she was just a wonderful, really nice person, comes to me, and she thought she had an eating problem. And I told her she didn't have an eating problem. She was about 5'2", and she was pushing 300 pounds. I told her she didn't have any problem eating at all. She was really good at it, you see. And we all chuckled over that. And she proceeded to tell me why she was so heavy. And I really didn't want to hear this because I didn't want to start believing any of it, because I knew I was last on the totem pole of everything she went to before that. So I went into my automatic, that's interesting, and thought about something else. Finally, I had enough. I said, all right, ready to do the hypnosis? Oh, okay, that soon? Yeah, let's do it right now, quick. So I hypnotized her with a rapid induction. And I told her to go back to the first situation or event that, now you got to remember, you're not going to like what I'm going to say next. But I do what is ever necessary to be successful with the client. You see, that's what they're paying me for. They're not paying me for being a nice guy. Now, this woman was very analytical. And analytical people, you have to do stuff maybe to shock them past the analytical mind. Now, you can do it physically or you can do it mentally. Here I was doing it mentally. I said, all right, now we're going back to the first time. The first situation or event that ultimately caused you to become so fat and ugly. Terrible words, weren't they? And I use those words specifically because I wanted her to focus on that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bonked her on the forehead. Now, see, she was thinking about that. Her subconscious mind was wide open, fired a regression in there. Next thing I know, instead of having a woman saying I didn't see anything because she was analyzing it, now this woman was 49 in my office. She was 6 years old, and just that fast, and 5 down to 1. Give me a report. What's going on? Her stepfather was sexually abusing her. Did it about 2, 3 times a week. She told her mother. Her mother didn't believe her. It went on for about 3 months. Finally, the mother caught the guy, threw the bum out. What kind of a feeling do you think that little girl was left with at 6 years old? Do you got any idea? What was the base feeling she felt? I'll tell you what it was. It's the worst feeling that can harm you in so many ways, and it was guilt. What did I do to cause the big man to do this, to the mature adult to do this? Does the adult mind understand this? No. But this is the way the childlike mind works. Well, she didn't do anything, but she felt guilty. So I said, okay, now let's move forward in time to the next situation that ultimately caused the weight to come on. Since we were in the regression now, I no longer had to use shocking language. That was a tool we used for a very specific situation. We moved forward in time. Now she was a brand new bride in the Bahamas. If you're working in South Florida, lots of problems happen in the Bahamas. Anyway, they're having this romantic dinner, you know, on a cute little table in this restaurant with big windows overlooking where they dock boats, you know, and the masts are going up, and that's the idyllic scene, and candle on the table, and life is good. But then her schmuck of a husband decides he's going to start the marriage off on the right foot by confessing all of his previous sins with women. Not a bright idea. So he starts saying, you know, honey, when I was 24 in the Air Force in Germany, I used to pick up women and use them and just kind of dump them. Well, he was telling this to her to show that he would never do this to her. In other words, it was like a dog laying on its back and exposing its visceral part of its body. In other words, okay, here I am, kill me if you want to, but I want you to know that I'm yours. Well, her subconscious mind didn't accept it that way. And her subconscious mind said, oh, before we went to this, we went to high school. She was 17 in high school. It was in 1957. And she was beautiful. She looked like Gina Lola Bridget. I mean, she's so gorgeous, this woman. She brought pictures. And she said she felt 2 feelings. One, she felt more promiscuous than she thought she was more promiscuous than she felt good about. And number 2, she thought all the boys just wanted one thing. I don't know if you girls ever had that feeling or not about guys. But if you did, you were wrong. We had a whole list. It wasn't one thing. So after we discovered that, we moved on to the Bahamas and we found this out. Well, now I knew what happened in the Bahamas. Her subconscious mind, when he told her that, said, time out. Let me get this straight. That man hurt you so bad as a child. If those boys in high school could have got you, see, getting you back in the 50s was a very important thing. You didn't get got. Otherwise, you had a reputation. You were one of those girls, you see. And it was amazing what it took to get a reputation. It didn't take much at all. That old song, Wake Up Little Susie, really is not that inaccurate, where they fall asleep in a drive-in movie and their reputations are ruined. Anyway, our subconscious mind goes, hold it, you know. All these people. Now, the one man that I trust with my entire life, my knight in shining armor, would actually do this to a woman. The subconscious computer just said, men hurt women, I'll protect you from men. And it didn't teach her to get a gun. It figured if I get you to get really fat and ugly, nobody's going to bother with you and you won't be hurt anymore. And she did. And very quickly, she got very, very heavy. But her husband stuck by her. He loved her desperately. But now we had all the tools. That's how the subconscious mind protected her. Then all we had to do was regress her back to the first situation. Now remember this, because I don't want you to listen with selective hearing. Sometimes I say something that really is important, and this is one of those times. You can say something to the conscious mind, as in talk therapy, and it has no effect. You can say the exact same thing to the subconscious mind, to a person in deep trance, and it will have tremendous effect. So all I did was explain to this girl like a Philadelphia lawyer, while she was the little girl. I said, now this man is sick. You did nothing wrong. This man had a problem and you paid the price of the problem. You're a beautiful little girl with a golden heart. And you're wonderful and you're pure and nobody can ever hurt you this way again. And then I had her do the one thing that was always mandatory for when we're hurt by other people, you have to do this, or they have to do this. They have to forgive the person that helped them, hurt them. Otherwise, they're not going to get any better. And this is always generally the hardest part of a therapeutical intervention that's caused by another individual. But she forgave this guy and she got past him. Then we took her to high school and we showed her by the standards of 1956. See, I was in high school at the same time she was, so I knew the feeling. I was fortunate in a situation that not only wasn't she promiscuous by what she did, she could have probably qualified for nunhood real quick. And she didn't let him get her. She remained pure. Very important stuff. None of you people are old enough here to understand this time of year. And so then we went, and you can see her like relaxed. And then we went to the Bahamas, and I explained to her, now your husband is like that dog, exposing himself. He wanted to tell you all of his things so that you would know that he would never do this to you. I said, he's a jerk. You know he's a jerk. I know he's a jerk. That's a stupid thing to do. But you got to admit that he's exposed himself because he just loves you more than life itself. And she said, oh my God. I said, okay. Now do you understand why the weight came on? And you'll hear the next thing so many times. Yeah, that was so stupid, wasn't it? No, it wasn't stupid. It's the way our minds work. So I said, no, it wasn't stupid. It's the way our minds work. And I said, now, are you ready to get rid of this weight? And she says, oh my God, yes. I said, are you ready to give it up? No fooling around. You realize where it came from now, the need to protect. Oh, I'm willing. That was so stupid of me to do that. I said, okay. Then I gave her my powerful, patented, trademark, copyrighted weight loss suggestions, which are different every time I say it because I never know what I'm going to say until it starts coming out of my mouth. But basically I said to her, all right, from this moment on then, because you choose to be at a healthy weight for you, you're going to eat those foods that you know, I don't have to tell you. Heavy people are they know what the good foods are. You're going to eat the foods that are good for you in the proper quantity for a good, steady, but healthy weight loss at a rate that's healthy for your body to lose until you're at the perfect weight for your size, bone structure, and physical size. Don't ever go put a number on a weight loss thing. It could be a very unhealthy number for a person. And the weight's going to come off easily and effortlessly. You're going to find that you're not going to be hungry between meals, blah, 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 and you're going to do great. All right, open your eyes and go away. And I sent her away. As she's leaning over her shoulder, I was so stupid, wasn't I? I said, no. Didn't see her again for about a year. Anybody here from Fort Lauderdale? South of there. In Fort Lauderdale, they have what we call the Mall from Hell. It's a mall on Oakland Park Boulevard and US 1 called the Coral Ridge Mall. Now, this is a mall that does not have a store for men. Purely women. And women try to con us into going with them. And when we do, we just lower our bottom lip and pout and shuffle. So one day my wife says, let's go get a pizza. And let's go over to Tony's or whatever it is, the pizza shop that's right on the back entrance of the Coral Ridge Mall. I said, okay, I'll call up. She goes, nah. She says, let's take a nice drive and we'll go there. And I said, all right, I'm not thinking. She caught me off guard. So I'm walking in and I said, okay, I'll go order the pie. She goes, well, I just got to go over to Hit and Miss here a minute. And I knew it instantly I was had. It was all over. So she's, come on, walk with me. And as I'm walking, I see the other guys that got caught in the trap too, and they're pouting. But out of the corner of my eye, I see this beautiful woman run up to me. She puts her arms around me and she goes, "Oh, thank you, Mr. Kein. Thank you." I looked at my wife and said, "I don't know her." She says, "Yes, you do." And it was this woman. And she was down, I think, to 121 pounds. And she wanted to get down to 119 was her personal target. And I'm sure she made it. And that was it. See, that was one session. But once you discover the cause of a person's problem and eliminate it and change the perception, many, many times that's all it takes. Does it always take one session? No. But many, many times it does in these type of scenarios. And now you see how her protective subconscious mind was protecting her against any interaction with men. And so we fixed that. And it works very, very well that way. Now, the last part of the subconscious mind is, although it's so awesomely powerful, and it is awesomely powerful, it has a negative characteristic. And that is, it is the laziest part of you or me. It does not like to do the work necessary, that it's accepting suggestions of positive change or doing the therapy that needs to be done. It doesn't like to do that work. That requires work. And it works this way. Let's say, but the subconscious mind, on the other hand, is really thrilled to accept negative suggestions. A negative suggestion goes into the subconscious mind for most people like a hot knife through soft butter. Why? It really doesn't take any effort to accept a negative suggestion. We live in a negative world. People are telling us negative things all day long. What is your comparison in your life, would you say, would you guess, of people telling you what you can do versus what you can't do? How many times have you heard, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that, compared to, you can do that, you just put your mind to it, by gosh, you can do that. I'll bet it's like this, with you can't do that being way up here in numbers and you can do it down here. So negative suggestions of all types go in very easily for most people. Positive suggestions, though, are very difficult to get in there. Let me show you why. Let's say we take a positive suggestion. Let's take smoking. You are now a non-smoker. You'll be a non-smoker for the rest of your life. And it's coming in from an external source or from yourself, and a verbal suggestion like you would get on these tapes you can buy from motivational tapes. You can do it, nothing to it, you can do it, you know, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. Anyway, it starts going in, it's heading for your subconscious mind. If it gets in there, change begins to happen. But there's one more part of the conscious mind we haven't told you about. Think of it as an employee of the subconscious mind. Every Friday it gets paid and it only has one job. And that job is to take every positive suggestion, stop it like a red traffic light, put it on hold. In a way we know it works, but we don't understand the mechanics of it. It communicates with the subconscious mind. Now the name of this thing, this part, is called the CF, the critical factor of the conscious mind. Remember that from the definition? What is hypnosis? The bypass of the critical factor of the conscious mind, the establishment of acceptable selective thinking. The critical factor, it says, hold on here. It says, hey, sub, can I let this suggestion in? The sub saying, give me a break. You know, I'm laying here on the couch. I'm having a beer. I'm watching a ball game. I don't need this aggravation. Get rid of it. It says, fine. Kind of turns into a mirror, rejects it, and the only place it can go is over to Mr. Willpower. It's out of there. So how do we get a suggestion into the subconscious mind? There is only one way that I'm aware of, and that's through hypnosis. Now, hypnosis has many other names as people invent the names so that it doesn't scare people. But basically, hypnosis is the way, because we have to bypass that critical factor, don't we? And we have to establish acceptable thinking for the suggestion to be accepted. So, if that's what we did, if that's all it was, then when we gave a person a suggestion with the critical factor bypass, we gave it a couple of bucks, send it to the restaurant and tell it to come back when we wanted to, then this would be what a lot of people think hypnosis is. then there would be nothing to stop a suggestion from going into this organic computer. Then the stories that you've heard would be true. Then I could control you. Then I could make you do anything I wanted you to do. But come on, God or nature or whatever your belief system is didn't leave us that vulnerable. We got more backup systems than you can imagine. Yes, the conscious mind, there's a path, a door that opens, but when this happens, at the same instant, the conscious mind takes on a different role. Call it the guardian of the gates, if you will. Those of you that have been in hypnosis know that you can hear everything that goes on around you, can't you? Everything. So you hear every suggestion given to you very clearly. Now, here's what you don't have any control over. And what I'm telling you now is my pre-talk that I tell new clients. I love this because most hypnotists don't have a clue about this. And all I have to do is find out if they failed with another hypnotist, who they went to. And I know the bias of their training, and mostly it's because of what I'm going to tell you now, why they fail. When a suggestion comes in, you do not have any choice over this. You must make one of 4 decisions about that suggestion. What mental attitude you take about that suggestion determines whether it's allowed to go into that organic computer and change begins, or it's rejected. Let's look at those 4 potential mental attitudes. And I'm telling my clients this. I want them to know it. Hypnosis is a two-way street. We both have our jobs to do. The first mental attitude you could have when you hear this is, ooh, I like that suggestion. I know that one's going to work for me. I like it. I know it's going to work. That one's allowed to go into that organic computer and change begins. But my friends, you have 3 potential other mental attitudes. If the client holds on to any one of these 3 mental attitudes, the suggestion is rejected and there is no change. Now let's look at these. The next mental attitude could be, forget about the suggestion being against your morals or against your religion or something you feel strongly about. If it's just a little tiniest bit uncomfortable for any reason, that's all it takes and it's out of there. It's gone. The next one is, if you're neutral about the suggestion, you say, that's a good suggestion. I don't care if I get that one. Don't care if I don't. Doesn't mean that much to me. Well, you're right. It doesn't mean that much to you. It's out of there. It's not going in. But the last mental attitude is the mental attitude that most people who fail with hypnosis, who really want to have the change, held on to. And it goes like this. They hear the suggestion and they say to themselves, ooh, I like that suggestion. Boy, I hope it works. I hope it works. Hope is a tremendous failure word. Hope and try are the worst words you can hold on to. If you look back over your own life, and if you're honest with yourselves, anytime you said to yourself, I'll try to do something, I'll guarantee that you did a lousy job with it. Anytime you said, by God, I'm just going to do this and I'm going to do it well, whatever it was, you got it done and you did it well. So if they say, I hope it works, it won't. It'll be rejected. Now you see how my people are getting all this information that they need to be successful in the session. We'll summarize all this up for you. Now the suggestion goes in there and we start to have a positive and exciting result with the individual. Bypassing the critical factor. Establishment of acceptable selective thinking. The pre-talk, which is what we're doing here. Make no doubt about it, ladies and gentlemen. If you're doing hypnosis, and you notice I said if you're doing hypnosis, because many times you're not going to do hypnosis. Pete over here, being an MD, you don't do hypnosis, do you? You can say, I'm just going to mentally relax. So all this is out the window. It's just, don't even have to get near any of this stuff. You as a PA, same thing. You never even have to mention it unless you're going to open a hypnosis practice. Nurses never have to mention it. They don't have to do any of this. But if you're doing hypnosis and people are coming to you the hypnosis, you've got to go jump through these hoops. You got to do a really good pre-talk. It's very, very important. But you probably won't.
Oh, Jerry.
You probably won't. I'm going to tell you why. I'm glad you asked. You like these pause for effects? A good pre-talk takes about a half an hour to do, to cover all the bases. I'm going to, well, in a minute I'll show you that. But what happens is you get to your office in the morning and you're all rosy-cheeked and full of energy and going to tear into that day. And your first couple of pre-talks are pretty good, real good. But as the day goes by, you're starting to say to yourself, I got to say this whole blasted pre-talk again. And you start dropping things. And sometime you're going to get to a point where you drop the 4 mental attitudes. That's really going to cause problems. Not problems, but the less information you give, unless you cover all the bases, the worse your outcome's going to be. So you need to do a good pre-talk. One of the ways that I found the best way to do it is I said, and not only that, if you're doing a half an hour pre-talk with everybody, you are severely limiting how many clients you're going to be able to see in that day. You are at least halving your income, if not more. So my wife and I were talking about this, and many, many years ago, and I said, boy, I wish there was a way I can get past this. And that was right when video cameras were first made, you know, connected by a wire to a recorder and everything. Videotape it. And I went out and bought a $5,000 video camera. It was the first color one ever made. Today I'd look at it and say it's a bunch of junk. But back then it was state of the art. And on the way to the beach one Sunday morning, we whipped by the office and I had my jacket on. I looked really dapper and sat behind the desk. Of course, from here down, I had my bathing suit and sneakers on because we were off to the beach. And I looked at that camera and I just made believe it was a person, and I did a great pre-talk. Now when people come in, whoever was working that day, Janie, Tammy, or Shirley, would give them a client history form like you do in a physician's office. They'd fill that out. Then Shirley, they'd fill it out in the therapy room, and then Shirley would take that away, and they'd be left with a clipboard and a piece of paper. And Shirley would go put the client history form in a manila envelope for me, and so you're ready to go. And they say you're going to watch a little videotape about hypnosis, and Jerry will be in if you have any questions and answer it when it's done. Now, that gave me a half an hour to work with another client, to grab a spot of lunch, to take a nap, do a little self-hypnosis, call my mother, whatever it might be. But at least I could pack that in with the time and it wasn't wasted just talking. Now, there's a lot of benefit to this psychologically because I was very serious on it, yet affable. And when I walked in, the person said, "Whoa, you're that fella on the videotape." Well, what happened to your hair? I got to redo that someday. You see, and the psychological processes behind this are, somebody's in a professional office watching a tape. They got to figure that you are really smart to be on a tape in a professional office. So they look at you as the authority, you're building rapport, and it's really, really nice. So that when you walk in, you're already the authority. And also, if you do a good pre-talk, it's also a waking hypnosis session, if you do it the right way. So these people all, what's the term, all greased up and ready to go when you walk in. And it makes your job very, very easy, you see. So that's exciting. But you're always going to find these people who say, yeah, I hear this. But don't tell me you can't control people. I went to a stage hypnosis show last month, and I saw that guy make those people do this and that and the other thing. Well, then you got to explain to them how stage hypnosis works. And I do. And I say, look, let me explain to you how it works, because I've done it for years. When a stage hypnotist comes to town, it's very exciting. A lot of people like stage hypnotism. So the nightclub or whatever it is gets filled up real quickly. And who does it get filled up with? I'm going to explain to you who that is. People who want to be part of the show, most of them. For many people, it is people who are having no fun in their life, and they want to go up on stage without accepting the responsibility for their behavior. For example, it may be the woman who is living with, married to, fill in the blank, the super jealous guy, where the woman goes down to 7-Eleven to pick up something. It takes her 15 minutes, and she comes home and he's grilled for 2 hours on who she talked to. I don't know if you gals ever ran into one of these guys, but I had a buddy of mine that was this way. Or I used to love to give stage shows in Palm Beach, not West Palm Beach, but East Palm Beach, where the really big money was. Why? Because those people weren't having any fun. When you have that much money, you have to watch exactly what you say, what you wear. Your behavior has to form within a certain area. You can't go outside of that area. But when these people got up on stage, they had the perfect excuse. Mm-hmm. They were hypnotized. A little fat kid made me do it. I didn't have any choice over this. I remember this one girl who came up one time who was with one of these jealous guys. After the stage show, she went back and sat down next to her. I heard the story later, and he's saying, "Doris, you made a fool out of yourself. How could you do something like that?" She said, "It wasn't me, honey. It was that little fat kid up there. He made me do it." And the guy with the IQ of about -6 says, "Yeah, you're right. I'm going to get him." So you got to watch out when you're a stage hypnotist. How do I know that? That's how this got broke twice.
Wow.
You got to learn to zig and zag and duck sometimes with these guys. A jealous guy is not a good thing for you or for me. So you can, and that's how it works. And stage hypnosis, nobody's out of control. If you've seen stage hypnotists, many times we send people back because are not responsive. They don't want to play. You see, a stage hypnotist looks for something within an individual, and that is a person with strong latent exhibitionist tendencies. Mm-hmm. Those are the people we want. Those are the people that want to get up in front of a crowd and play. And so these are the people that respond beautifully to the stage hypnotist. Yes?
Question. I know this pre-talk works. There are some people, though, my experience is there are some people, when I tell them they have to have the right attitude, maintain that right attitude, they're scared that they can't maintain the right attitude. Mm-hmm. There are these people that don't have the confidence in themselves to do things right, performance anxiety things. Mm-hmm. How do you handle that?
You're going to do fine. We'll just take it step by step as we go through the session. Now you start the hypnosis. Now throughout the session, as you're giving suggestions, and this is generally a direct suggestion session that we're talking about. You simply say, "You're doing great." Now remember, when you hear the suggestions, I like it, I know it's going to work. And you keep doing that throughout the entire session. And pretty soon, because they're entranced, they're suggestible, they become highly responsive to that. Okay. So you just keep saying it, reinforce it, lots of times. Okay. Lots of times during the session. Okay. I do it all the time. It's just automatic. And it's a good question because it's a good point to know that I probably wouldn't have thought of. Yeah, you're doing great. Now, don't forget as you hear them, I like it. I know it's going to work if that's the case. I also say if you don't like it, you just kick it out. Right. Throw that in once in a while.
So you're building your confidence throughout the whole session.
You betcha. That's how you become a winner with your clients. There are some terms we need to get out of our profession, some words that we have historically used but are not good, and we need to get rid of them. Again, our profession needs to evolve. So right now, let's get rid of some words that have historically been used in the work. Now, the first one is, and this one is like fingernails on the blackboard to me, is the word under. When you were under hypnosis, or are you going under hypnosis? Oprah likes this one a lot. Under is a pejorative word. What does that mean? It means you're talking down to somebody. It's like you are under my power, or you're under the bed, or something like that. It's a very fearful and uncomfortable word to the subconscious mind. So your job, should you choose to accept it, is every time you hear a person say the word under, even if that person is another hypnotist, say, look, nobody's under anything. When we're in hypnosis, we're just in a pleasant state of mental and physical relaxation. Or we go into a pleasant state of mental relaxation Doesn't that sound better than under?
Mhm.
You're going under. Oh my God. Where's my aqualung or something like that? So correct everybody. It took me a while. I had to just slap myself in the face to get rid of that word. And I did it hard every time I said it because it was so automatic from my early training. I had a bruised cheek. I'm a slow learner. So we want to get rid of under. The other word, which is just galls me no end, and in our classes in Fort Lauderdale, we used to have a coffee can with a top with a slit on it that anytime after the first day you had to put a buck in. That's one way you learn real quick. Another term we want to get rid of, which has nothing to do with hypnosis, but I hear hypnotists using it every day. Wake up. I'm going to count from 1 to 3 and you're going to wake up. Well, boys and girls, let me explain something to you. You have this person coming into you. You have done everything right. I mean, you have done this thing textbook. And you're really excited because you know that this is a winner scenario you've done. And now it's time to get that person out of your office. At the count of 3, you're going to wake up and your eyes are going to open and you're going to feel great. And the person is there going, wake up. I wasn't asleep.
Right.
I should have been asleep. Nothing worked.
Mhm.
So a perfect session is destroyed by saying wake up. So if you want to be really good in this work, if you have been using those 2 words, listen to yourself and smack yourself every time you hear those 2 words. If you hear other people use those 2 words, I don't advise you to physically smack them. There's one lawyer for every person out there in the world today. But I would mention to them what I just told you, that this can be very destructive to a good session. So under, wake up, we got to get rid of it. They just don't belong in our world anymore. They've served us well for a number of years, but we have to move on. The other thing is, the next one is resistance. Don't say to a person, you're resisting me. The person says to himself, I'm not resisting you. I'm trying the best I can. And so then these people, a lot of hypnotists like to grow the Freudian beards. They'll stroke their Freudian beard and say, well, you're not resisting me consciously. You're resisting me subconsciously. Well, the person may shut up, but that doesn't mean they're satisfied. We'll talk a little bit more about this later. But resisting is, if they're coming to your office voluntarily, if they want to do what they're there for, nobody's resisting you. So what you should do is write down the word resistance, or at least think about the word resistance. Draw an X through it, and write next to it or imagine next to it the word inhibition. No errors for spelling it wrong. I don't know how to do it either. See, all there is hypnosis is a natural response. So all there ever can be is an inhibition to a natural response. How's it work in your regular life? You go to a party, and maybe you're a little inhibited. What do you got to do to lose your inhibitions? Well, you got to knock down a couple drinks, and all of a sudden your inhibitions go flying out the door, and the next thing you know, you're dancing around with a lampshade on your head, and your inhibitions are gone, you see. So there's no such thing as inhibition, as resistance. There's only inhibition. And your client understands that. They can relate to that. Yeah, I do feel a little inhibited. Well, now the question is, why do you feel inhibited? See, there's a little bit of a fear that you haven't discovered yet. And you got to discover that fear and remove it. And then the inhibition goes away, providing they want to be in your office in the first place. And the next one, we can use this one, although let's understand what it really means. When we tell a person, as I do this, let yourself go deeper and deeper into hypnosis. It's fine to use the word. The client feels okay with the word. But let's look at reality. Nobody's going deeper into anything. If that was the case, I would rent me an office building on the 100th floor. I'd get a pulley system out the window. And I'd put a recliner on that. And as I lower them down, I'd be going, you're going deeper and deeper. No. What really happens is as people go more and more into hypnosis, they become more and more suggestible. Hypnosis deepening techniques are really increasing a person's suggestibility, or hopefully are increasing a person's suggestibility. But I'm not telling you to use the word deeper. Everybody does it. I do it. But let's just realize in our own mind what we're really shooting for here is increased suggestibility, maybe more relaxed physically, but that's it. It doesn't have anything to do with giving them a shovel and telling them to start digging deeper or something like that, you see. We say that the hypnosis is the bypass of the critical factor and the establishment of acceptable selective thinking. Now let's look at this. How is the critical factor bypassed? Well, let's understand that when you are first born, you are born without a critical factor. And your critical factor doesn't form, depending on how quickly you matured, until the age is somewhere around 5, 6, in that area. Prior to that, whatever anybody tells you that you perceive as an authority and you like becomes part of your belief system. Maybe this is nature or God's way to keep our minds open for programming to come in to get us up and running. For example, and I always like to say, a lot of people believe in God. Why do you believe in God? Well, the answer is, for most people, this is what my parents taught me. I learned this from my parents. Yes, you did. And that's where most people learn these type of things. Why, by the time you're 6 or 7, do you have the beliefs that you do? Because those are the beliefs that basically your parents instilled in you when you had no way to defend against them. Now you know why prejudice develops, for example. If you have prejudiced people who think black people are less than and say that to you as a child, that becomes part of your belief system. So it's the old story is, God, you got to read a manual to drive a car, but you don't have to have a manual to have a child and program this internal computer. Can you imagine, as a parent, if you understood the power of your words to just totally tell that child, always, they can do it, they can do it, they're good, they are the best. Before they get to that point where they start resisting the parent, you've already programmed them for success. Now I'm going to teach you some DRT techniques. Those are called dirty, rotten trick techniques on how to hypnotize little kids to turn out really well. And that's hypnotizing them when they're very, very young in a special way that they don't know they're being hypnotized, and programming. Now, but again, they're always in hypnosis. You see, these little kids without critical factors are always in hypnosis. So when do you start programming a child? Well, through regression work, we've discovered that memory starts at about the 3rd month after conception, not after birth. About the 3rd month, their brains have developed enough. Now, you can hear beautifully what's going on the outside of your mother. Have you ever put your head underwater in the ocean? You can hear boat motors from gazillion miles away. Well, what do you think you are when you're in your mother, in that amniotic fluid? What is amniotic fluid? It's water. It's got some other stuff in it, but it's 99.9% water. So you are an underwater object, and you're starting to hear. Now, you don't have a clue what this stuff is, but it's going in. When you learn the language, that programming that went in there becomes hot. Also, children are extremely sensitive and can tell emotions. They can tell happiness, they can tell anger. Screaming and shouting are terrible programming for kids. Now, it's amazing. So that's when the programming starts with a child. But let's look at other things that happen. What are other things that bypass the critical factor? You go to a doctor's office. Doctors always bypass the critical factor. Always. Any place. If you meet a doctor, your doctor in a social environment, whatever he says, because he is such an authority generally to people, will still bypass your critical factor. One of the more great opportunities for a physician, or for good or evil, is this scenario. You go to, most people don't go to a doctor because they feel great, do they? Forget the once a year checkup. This usually doesn't happen. You go to a doctor when you have a problem. And they go in and the physician gives you some tests, find out what it is. And then maybe you've run into this scenario where the nurse or whoever it is sits you down in the doctor's office opposite his desk. put your folder down and says, the doctor will be in to talk to you about your condition shortly. Well, this is about the worst place you can be. I mean, you are in terror. What did he discover? So what are you doing? You're looking around the office. You're trying to get your mind off of it. There's a picture with the doctor and his kids. There's another picture with his out on the golf course or whatever. And, you're looking around at all these books that really look, God, how can people read these books, And finally, your anticipation is building and building. The human mind is not naturally, but has been programmed to assume the worst. And so finally he walks in, your heart is pounding, your critical factor's in Cleveland. He sits down behind the desk, opens his folder. Now, when he puts that folder down and looks at you, the next words that come out of his mouth are the most important words to you in your life at that point. Because whatever he says is going to be 100% part of your belief system for most people. Yes, there's exceptions, certain people it won't. Geez, you got a really interesting problem here, Jerry, a severe infection, but don't worry, we're going to clean it up. You're going to be fine. Okay. Or take this scenario. I'm being wheeled down to the operating theater for bypass surgery after 8 hours of balloon angioplasty. The surgeon walks by me, very rare, but I know the guy. I said, Bill, am I going to make it? He looked over at me. Where's my critical factor? Forget my hypnosis training. That goes out the window in this situation. He looked over at me and he said the words, I knew I was doomed. I said, Bill, am I going to make it? He goes, we're going to do the very best we can. Well, everybody's subconscious mind knows this is not going to work. If this guy would have looked over and said to me, Jerry, this operation's a piece of cake. We can do this blindfolded. Quit your whining. In a week, you're going to be out of here. You're going to feel better than you ever felt in your life. Now, if I died on the operating table, what am I going to do? Come back and sue him for lying? I don't think so. So that's the power of the words when your critical factor is bypassed. So that bypasses. Doctors bypass your critical factor. Religion is the greatest critical factor bypass in the world. When your rabbi, priest, minister, whatever it is, gets up there, forget it. When I was a little boy, I remember my dad was an atheist. My dad was an atheist. My mother was a Catholic. Every once in a while, guilt got to her and she dragged us to the Catholic Church. I remember the first time I went there. It was scary. Big place. Had a certain smell. I didn't know what it was. Now I know it's Murphy soap oil. Drag you into the booth. Now, most churches, if you kneel, they have a padded thing. Not the Catholics. Man, you're on wood. That's the end of it. And I'm looking around this thing, and I don't know what's going on. I look over here, there's banks of candles with ladies lighting the candles, and they're wearing doilies on their head. I look over here, there's 3 phone booths people disappear into and never come out again. The confessionals. Then I go this way, and I look up, and there's this dead guy hanging behind the altar. I go, what's going on in this place? Then the priest comes out. And for those of you who are Catholics, know it's not a religion. It's a religion that tells you, if you do this, you're going to get it. Well, even though I was a little tiny boy at the time, I knew this priest was talking about me, and I already knew I did most of the things he said that are bad. So I left that place so depressed. Told my mother I never want to go back again. And that's how it affects you. That bypassed my critical factor tremendously. Television, there's a great critical factor bypass. Any of you ever get hung up on soap operas? Well, I did. One year I thought the world was going to come to an end, so I bought a store in New Hampshire, country store. I got infectious hepatitis, no insurance. The doctor says, go lay down on the bed, eat a lot of carbohydrates, don't even get up to go to the bathroom. I did. I had nothing to do, so I ended up watching that TV soap opera called, what is it, Months of Our Years, or Days of Our Lives. And I mean, when that thing came on, nobody better talk to me. I still don't know if Julie and Josh, but I was really sucked into that. I let it bypass my critical factor. What else are you going to do? Be laying in bed all the time, you say. The greatest critical factor bypass of all is what? Surpasses everything else. Well, that would do it. But sex doesn't necessarily bypass the critical factor. Sex can be very manipulative, very planned and focused. But you're close. It's a word that starts with L. Love. I'm in love. You ever been in burning love? Love that was so strong it hurt. You just wanted to be next to that person every second of the day. I mean, when you're in that deep of love, your critical factor is beyond Pluto. And you hang on every word that person says. And love is beautiful, providing both people feel that way. If only one person feels that way, then it can be pretty hurtful. But I'll tell you one thing, love is the ultimate critical factor bypass. Scary too, isn't it? And there's many, many other things bypass your critical factor. Almost everything bypasses your critical factor. It's hard to go through your commercials on television, all these commercials. When you watch commercials, every one of them is trying to bypass your critical factor. If they do, you may buy their product. If you happen to walk past it in some store spontaneously, there's two of the same items next to each other. You're liable to pick up the one that had the commercial just because subconsciously it has a familiar connection to you. So it's all hypnosis out there, folks. And it's good to get some of this programming, but it's not so good to get other stuff. Let's talk about the power of an individual person's mind. And let's forget hypnosis for a minute. You want to you come up here a minute. You, Carol.
Yes.
Or as we say, Caroli. Can I have your glasses?
Yes.
That was too easy. Can I have your wallet?
Right here.
You want to
No.
75 cents? That's all I'm worth? Oh, well, I've got a pay increase. Come on over here. Can we play a little bit?
Yes.
All right. See what I have to face out here? You thought life was easy up here, didn't you?
Scary.
Yeah. Look at that one. Spooky, isn't it?
Okay.
Okay, let me show you the power of a person's mind. This is really interesting. Let's not even worry about hypnosis. I want you to do something that you really did well when you were just a little girl. And you're going to do really good again when you're an old snarly lady.
Okay.
And that is pretend. Remember how you were a kid, you could pretend so well. Of course, then we get up as adults and we're cool, and it's kind of hard to pretend and still say cool. And then when you get old and everybody left in, you're hanging out in your condo on the beach, you retreat back into pretending again because it's a nice fantasy world to be in. Now, all I'm going to do is ask you to pretend that what I say is true.
Okay.
I'll tell you exactly what we're going to do ahead of time so there's no surprises, okay?
Mm-hmm.
In a minute, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. And all I want you to do is pretend, just make believe that they're really stuck in that down position. As if Ben came up and dropped a drop of super glue on each eyelid or something like that. Or as they say in Guatemala, supero gluo. Surprised I speak your language. And that's all I want you to do. But I want you to pretend that with the power that little girl was able to pretend. Remember how you ever play with dollies when you were a little girl? And that was really like real, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of pretending I'm talking about. Would you be willing to do that?
Sure.
Cool. All right. Now just close your eyes down. I'll get into this because it's fun.
Okay.
Just make believe with the power that little girl was able to do that. That for some reason that's not at all frightening to you, just curiously interesting, that your eyelids are stuck in that down position. And for a few moments, nothing that you could do or say could open them. And that's fine with you. But just pretend with that power. Are you doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's all I want you to do, Carol. But I want you to continue to do that. While you're doing that, I'm going to work on your arm over here. You can sense them over here. You know I'm here. You can feel me here. But as long as you're pretending as well as you are, that those eyes are locked in that down position, nothing I do here will affect or disturb you in any way. You're just going to know I'm over in this area and I'm just touching away over here. So just with the power of that little girl, just keep focusing on your eyes and nothing is going to bother or disturb you. Yikes. All right, we wash off the super glue and let the eyes open. Now, you know I was working over here, didn't you? Tell me what you felt.
Nothing. I felt you touch me.
No discomfort, was it?
Mm-mm.
Little pressure, maybe?
Mhm.
Yeah, but no discomfort. Think she should have felt just a touch of discomfort?
Did he put a needle or something?
No, but you see what...
Oh, wow. You did that to me.
Oh, geez. Do I detect the call to the lawyer already in this thing? Oh, my God.
No.
Anyway,
Pre-class.
put your hand. Boy, did I pick the wrong victim this time. Now, let's explain to you what happened here. You just had extremely deep hypnosis. How do I know that? Well, to have that level of analgesia, you had to have deep hypnosis. We could have went for anesthesia, but I wanted you to know I was working there. You need at least somnambulism or below to have that ability to block that much discomfort. Now, how did we get it? You didn't see me say relax or anything like that. That wasn't a factor here. Let's take this apart and we'll show you how it worked. When I said to her, I want you to pretend with all the power of the little girl that those eyes were locked in that, stuck in that down position. That was the bypass of the critical factor. Your critical factor said, what do you mean they're locked down? Gosh, I can't open them. They really are locked down. I'll just step aside and kind of watch what's happening. That was the first half. The second half of hypnosis was the acceptable selective thinking. I told you I was going to be working here. You're going to know I'm working here. See, I wanted her to know that. And I don't use words lightly. I simply then said to her, you're going to know I'm working here, but nothing I do here will affect or disturb you in any way. What is the limitation to the word nothing? Tain't none, is there? Nothing I do will affect or disturb you in any way. And then we laid on her really good, and she felt nothing. You see? Now this is an emergency hypnosis technique we used to use years ago when I used to ride with emergency medical services and volunteer my time. You always got to give back to the community. And I remember over a period of a couple of years, we had 3 complete arm amputations in the street with nothing more than this technique, and the person didn't feel a thing in those situations. Of course, you had to get their attention first beyond the screaming and all that kind of stuff, but that's another area we'll get into later on, you see. But that's it. And you see how quickly it comes in. Isn't that kind of neat?
Absolutely.
You know, she's been so good. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. How would you like to have the ability to anesthetize any part of you or all of you anytime you wanted to instantly? Would you like to have that ability?
Yes.
Well, I'll teach you how to do that if you want to, if you keep doing what I ask you to do. That means you'd never have to go to worry about going to the dentist again. How about that?
That would be great.
Wouldn't that be cool?
I have a fear of them.
Sure. Or like me, you could go to your doctor's office not too long ago, lay down on the table and say, just go ahead and cut those 2 sebaceous cysts out of my back, which is what my doctor did, and just whittled them on out. Oh, we were just having a wonderful chat, you see. And that's the power I'm going to give you if you do exactly what I ask you to do. It's a 3-parter. You already done part number 1. So you're a great candidate for this. Want to move to the next part? Okay. Turn a little toward me like this. Now, let's play off on this when we talk about anesthesia. Like we said, in the past, for example, if you were going for dental work and he was going to numb this side of your jaw, you know what they would do. They're not like doctors or nurses would come in and go, bump, give you a shot, and they're out of there. Oh, no. They open wide, give you one here, give you one there, and then they give you the one, don't you? Which is straight up into the roof of the mouth. And they'll usually say, now this, they'll always give you a great suggestion. Now this is going to sting a little bit, but I'll take it easy on you as I can. You know the roof of the mouth one is coming. And then by that time, your fists and everything are tight, your toes are sticking straight out. And then after he's assaulted your body, what does he do? He turns and leaves the office. Walks right out on you. Talk about being dumped. That's the terrible situation to do to somebody. And then after 5 or 10 minutes, he comes back in again. And now your mouth is really chemically anesthetized. And what happens? Well, you can't talk very well, can you? Certainly not. And God forbid you got to take a drink of water. Now drink and spit. Where's it going to go? Well, it could go over there. It could go over there. You don't know. And maybe like most people, you might be afraid when you leave that you bite your tongue or your lip and not know you've done that and maybe really hurt yourself. You ever had those feelings?
Mhm.
Yeah. And the reason I'm explaining this because the difference between chemical anesthesia, which is what that is, and mental anesthesia, which what we're going to teach her, is with mental anesthesia, it feels exactly the way it does right now. You can feel no difference. In other words, you can whistle, chew crackers, drink water, feel touch. The only thing you cannot feel is any discomfort of any kind. Now, wouldn't that be a better way to go about it?
Absolutely.
Want to see how fast you can do it? Okay. I'm going to ask you to lock your mind around a suggestion I'm going to give you. Would you be willing to do that?
Mhm.
Now, when you're dealing with a client, this is important. If you use a word, you better make sure their definition of the word is the same as your definition of the word, so there can be no mistake. Let me explain to you what I mean about locking the mind. Locking the mind means that it's the absolute truth. There is no doubt. This is it. It's black and white, and there's no question about it in your mind. You got the idea?
Yes.
Okay. That's how I want you to lock your mind. Now, this suggestion I'm going to give you, maybe you've never heard of it before, maybe you have, it doesn't matter. I promise you it's the absolute truth. Would you be willing to do that?
Yes.
Okay. I want you to lock your mind around this suggestion. In a moment, I'm going to stroke your jaw like this 3 times. Each time I do, more of your natural God-given mental anesthesia is going to flow powerfully into that jaw. By the second time I stroke it, it'll be more deeply anesthetized than any dentist could safely do with chemicals. By the third time, it'll be totally anesthetized. But you'll always be able to feel touch. You're just not going to be able to feel any discomfort whatsoever. Do you understand?
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
You're not going to punch me?
No.
Okay.
Sure wouldn't do that. Such a pretty face like that. Okay.
Okay.
Joking aside, lock your mind on this suggestion. I already gave her the suggestion, didn't I?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now just watch it happen. Here we go.
Okay.
1. Now the mental anesthesia is flowing powerfully into this part of you. You may or may not feel anything. That doesn't matter at all. 2. Now it's even more deeply anesthetized, if we want to use that term, than the dentist could safely do. At this point, some people feel a cool sensation, others a warm, some people nothing. It doesn't matter at all. Now the last one. Here we go. 1. Now this entire part of you is deeply anesthetized, but it feels fine, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Now I'm just going to come over here, and I'm not going to do any disfiguring of you here at all, but I'm just going to work here, and nothing's going to bother you at all. How do you feel?
Okay.
No discomfort, was there?
No discomfort.
That's wonderful. All right, you're doing very, very well. Proud of you. Nothing's going to bother you at all. It's good. Trying to use the pads instead of nails, but you still get a good situation with that. You're doing great. She should have felt normally something in that situation, I would think, you see. You're doing wonderful. Now for training purposes, though,
Mhm.
I want you to say, no, that's impossible. I cannot generate. The human mind can't generate that. You got the idea? I can't generate. It's just not possible. Now really believe that with the same locking of your mind. You doing that? All right. Now, watch how semantics change everything. I'm going to work here again, but no macho girl. I want you to tell me when you feel the slightest pain, cellular destruction, or crushing of the cellular walls. We're not here to cause you pain. And just let me know when you feel the first pain.
Yeah,
Okay?
right there.
I
Okay.
haven't even touched her yet.
I
See,
feel you
pain is a
squeezing.
pain is a painted word. In other words, if you use the word pain, it brings it on. Okay. Now lock your mind again. That it's completely anesthetized, no problem whatsoever. Know it's there. You have that ability, and tell me when you've done that.
Okay.
Yeah. How you doing?
Good.
Piece of cake, isn't it?
Piece of cake.
You're doing well. Now it's gone, and you're just normal here again. Now, you've done so well. I think you're going to do this beautifully, but I have to ask you a question.
Mhm.
But you have to answer this question honestly. So you can not tell me the truth and you can not tell them the truth,
Mhm.
but you can't not tell yourself the truth because you know the answer. You know what I mean? I want you to be totally honest with me because your answer determines whether I can teach it or not. Do you believe, no fooling around, that if you knew the technique, your mind has the ability to give you anesthesia anytime you want to have it, any place you want it to be there?
Yes.
Yes, and it's true. We were all born with this capability. Had our parents told us we had this capability, instead of programming us the opposite, we'd all be able to do this, just as a routine of the way we are. Okay, so now I'm going to teach you how to do it to yourself. We're going to use a trigger word. We're going to use the word numb. Now, you know this has nothing to do with numbness, but
Okay.
it's just a good word to remember for it. From now on, whenever you want to anesthetize any part of your body, you're going to say the word numb, then you're going to fill in the blank.
Okay.
Numb right arm, numb left jaw. You got the idea? Now, the secret is when you say it with an absolute conviction that it's the truth. There's nothing that can take this away from you. It's your right to have it, and by gosh, you're going to have it. You got the idea?
Yes.
And that word will only work when you want it to create the anesthesia. If you just say numb for something else, it's not going to do it.
Okay.
All right. Now, here's how you're going to do it. When you want to do it, you're going to say numb, but say it silently to yourself, but forcefully in your mind. Otherwise, during your practice, people think you're strange.
Okay.
So right now, I want you to say numb right arm and let me know when you've done that. Just know it's going to be there.
Okay.
Now, without any further suggestions. Good. Numb left jaw.
I'm focused here.
Go focus.
Okay.
Okay. Good. I'm proud of you. Now, isn't she cute?
Yes.
We can't have you walking around with a numb arm and a numb jaw all day long. So we have to teach you how to get rid of this when it's no longer necessary. You're simply going to do the same thing, only you're going to say the word normal. Normal right arm, normal right jaw. You say it, it's going to be gone like that. So when you're ready, say normal right arm, normal left jaw.
Okay. But we don't want to create.
Yeah, nothing. So you see, she keeps backing away. Get over here. Moving backwards all the time. Now, if you want to have this for the rest of your life, you'd have to practice it 20 times a day
Okay.
for a week. Now, that doesn't take any time out of your life because you can just go like this. Numb right arm, cool. Normal right arm. That fast. That's how fast it's going to come in and go. You don't test yourself for a week.
Okay.
But you can have a classmate test you once every day. Because you test yourself, we're building up a belief system. And that's an overload of a belief system until it gets really programmed in there strong. If you're one of the testers, use common sense. You're not here to disfigure. You know what I mean? You're not going to say numb right hand, now put it in the fire. No, a nice, good, strong pinch will be plenty on the test. But you see, there's a problem with this. Get to be my age, you got to sit down while you're working with people. Come closer to me, woman. Now, we've given you a skill that with just a little practice you're going to have for the rest of your life. But we didn't put any proper controls over this. What I'm going to do is program you so this will only last for about an hour. And then it's going to go away. Because if you anesthetize something, that's fine if you got a problem and it gives you time to go to the doctor's office and get it taken care of. But if you say, oh, it's going to be fine, you may have hurt yourself very badly and the anesthesia is going to cover that up. So we're going to have it go away after an hour. You're going to put it back for another hour, but you're going to know whether you need it or not and whether to get your butt into the doctor's office. You got the idea?
Okay.
That's very important that we do this. The only exception to this will be if you tell a doctor you have this skill, if he wants or she wants to extend the time, the doctor's instructions will supersede my instructions. In other words, well, I'd like to have that anesthetized for 3 more hours. That's how long it's going to last. You got the idea?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to program this into you by using a little different type of hypnosis. Can we do a little eye closed type of hypnosis type of thing? All right. So we get a little bit deeper. Let's kind of turn around this way a little bit. That's good. You ever been hypnotized before? Yeah. Okay. Take a nice long deep breath, fill up your lungs and hold it. Now, wait a minute. I just want you to know that as we work together up here, sometimes people go into hypnosis so quickly and so deeply, they just go down. As we work together, your legs are going to be firm. You're going to be able to stand in perfect balance throughout what we do, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's try it again. Now take a nice long deep breath, fill up your lungs and hold it. Good. Now exhale and sleep. There we go. Just let every muscle relax now. As I rotate your head, just let every muscle in your body go loose and limp and lazy. Let your mind grow calm and peaceful. Just as I rotate your head, feel wonderful waves of relaxation flow from the top of your head through the tip of your toes. Your mind relaxes, your body relaxes, your arms relax, your legs relax, and you feel comfortable. Going much deeper relaxed with every gentle breath you exhale. Just let every muscle go totally loose, totally limp, totally lazy. Way down now. That's fine. You're doing great. Now listen to me. What I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, that took a little bit long to get you into the state. So I'd like to condition you for what we call a post-hypnotic reinduction. That simply means that whenever I look at you with the intent to hypnotize you, and if it's okay with you to go into hypnosis at that time, I'll simply give you a signal. For you, I'll just touch my nose. When I look at you with the intent to hypnotize you, I'll just touch my nose. And if it's okay with you, at that instant, your eyes will close, your head will fall forward on your chest. You go right back down into this state, even deeper every time. If I ever use that technique and you don't want to go into hypnosis, it'll have absolutely no effect. And it'll only work within the classroom. Would you be willing to accept that suggestion? All right. So let's program that in. In a moment, I'll count to 3. Your eyes open. You'll look at me. I'll touch my nose. Your eyes close. You go right back down into the state. Each time we do it, a little deeper than the time before. All right. 1, 2, 3. Opening, opening, and look here. Way down. That's good. Really let yourself go. And again, 1, 2, 3. Opening, 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 and way down. That's good. And again, 1, 2, 3, opening, 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 and down. That's good. And again, 1, 2, 3, opening, 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 and really let it come in. You got it. See how responsive she's becoming? And again, 1, 2, 3, opening, opening, and way down. And once more, 1, 2, 3, opening, opening, and way down. That's good. Each time I look at you with the intent to hypnotize you, and it's okay with you, I'll touch my nose, your eyes will open. Your eyes will close, you go right back down in the state each time, deeper than before. All right, slowly let your eyes open. As you do, your body relaxes even more. How did it feel when I touched my nose? It was kind of interesting, wasn't it?
It was interesting.
What's it feel like?
Relaxing.
Relaxing. Do you think you were hypnotized? Look at me. That's good. Just continue to relax. It's interesting, and people laugh better in hypnosis. We cry better. Everything's better with hypnosis on it. It works great. Carol, listen to me. I'm going to give you some suggestions now, and you know that if you want to have these suggestions, you'll hold on to that I like it, I know it's going to work mental attitude. First, I want to give you some general suggestions that I think will be really good for you. Tonight and every night, from now on, when there's nothing else for you to do, the work of the day is done, the play of the day is done, and it's time for you to go into a natural healing deep sleep. You'll scrunch up into your favorite position under the covers. You'll take a nice deep breath and exhale, and as you exhale, your mind and body begins to relax. You'll take a second deep breath, and if your eyes aren't closed, they will, and your body and mind grow calm and peaceful, and at that point, you just begin a nice, easy journey into a beautiful, deep level of sleep. Sleeping all night long, moving from the deep to the light levels as we do naturally. Sleeping all night long, waking at the time you have told yourself to awaken. You'll do that better than any alarm clock ever could. Never again will you wake up with a sleep hangover. You're going to wake up bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, excited about the challenge that the new day brings. Now, of course, Should anything happen during the evening that requires your attention, you'll instantly become aware of that. Your eyes will open, you'll become fully alert, take care of the situation, and then you'll go right back to bed again, 2 deep breaths, and slip right back into that beautiful, deep, healing sleep. You're going to practice your self-hypnosis 20 times a day, and each time you do, you're going to notice it becomes better and more powerful than the time before. The anesthesia will last for 1 hour, 60 minutes. At the end of that 60 minutes, it will instantly disappear. That'll give you the knowledge whether you have to seek professional help or not. If you don't, you figure it's just a minor little thing, well, then you can instantly anesthetize it again. But you'll know if you need to go see a physician, and you will seek a physician. This is just to give you time to do that, or to cover the little dings and buffers, or hitting yourself with a hammer as you're putting a nail in type of a situation. But the anesthesia will become deeper and deeper and more powerful every time you use it. You're going to have it for the rest of your life, and it's going to be wonderful for you. In a dentist's office, you're going to be so proud when you tell the dentist, no, you don't have to use that. I'm fine without it. You can put your little needle away. And you'll be able to anesthetize your mouth completely. Never again have to face that dental needle again. It's going to be wonderful for you. Every day that goes by, your ability becomes stronger than the day before. As you move through class today and for the rest of the week, you're going to find that everything given to you implants itself powerfully on your subconscious mind and becomes instantly available to you in the future as you need it. It'll be just like water gushes from the source. The information will flow from your subconscious up to your conscious mind in the perfect form for you to use. It's going to be a wonderful ability. You began a life as a hypnotist, and you're going to become one of the very best out there. All right, in the future, every time I touch my nose with the intent to hypnotize you, and it's okay with you, you just close your eyes, let your head fall forward on the chest, and let yourself even drift deeper than you are right now. You're going to do great. Just do your practice, and you're going to do fine. You're going to look forward to practicing. All right, at the count of 3 and not before, let those eyes open, become fully alert, totally refreshed, and feel great. 1, slowly, easily, and gently, feel yourself coming back up to your full awareness. At the count of 2, you're still relaxed and calm, but your eyes under your eyelids feel like they're clearing, like they're being bathed in a sparkling, cool mountain stream. You feel good. On the next count, the eyes will open, you become fully alert, totally refreshed, just feeling fantastic with your new, very special skill. Get ready now. All right. Number 3, now open those eyes and notice how good you feel. How do you feel?
Feel good.
You did great. I'm proud of you.
Thank you for giving me the skill.
Well, yeah, give her a hand.
Thank you very much.
Go away. It's easy to do those type of things for people. That was a very simple little technique that we've learned many, many years ago. And every once in a while, you're invited to a party, and it's boring. I get invited to barbecues at my brother-in-law's house, and all he knows is talking about fishing for those big fish out in the ocean with the big noses. And how long can you talk about that? So pretty soon, I just go around everybody and say, anybody want to learn how to anesthetize themselves? And as long as they're not 3 sheets into the wind at that point, you just do this, and it's good for business, because as they watch it, they can go ahead and refer people to you or come to you for the other problems they have, you see, and it works great. Why are you nodding off on me? You're going back to Cleveland all by yourself, huh? So it's a great technique to give to people, and it's a wonderful present that you can give to about anybody that you come up against. Any questions on that particular thing? Yeah.
I noticed here, and I noticed also in your tapes, that you touch the person.
I know you were going to ask that. I'm psychotic. Yeah.
I've noticed that you usually will stand to one side and usually touch their shoulder, tap their shoulder, and quite often, and then especially you'll deal with the forehead. Is there any particular reason why?
Oh, yes. You better believe it. It's very powerful reasons why I touch people. Some of you who are in the mental health field were taught you never touch anybody. Stay away from them. And that's fine. You can do that. She slipped back into hypnosis. We'll emerge her later. Let her sit there. She'll get it better that way than consciously. I've touched people all my professional life. Now you can touch people. If I come up to you and I touch you like this, or if I'm working with you like this, I don't think there's any misunderstanding of my touch. On the other hand, if I come up and touch you like this,
It's a different feeling, yeah.
totally different. Now, a lot of people say you got to be careful, and if you're uncomfortable with it, you shouldn't do it. But let me explain to you why I do it and what the value of it is. I don't particularly like doing therapeutical hypnosis in a chair. I never used to have a chair in my office until after my heart attack. I used to always do my hypnosis work standing up. I don't care what it was, I do it standing up. Now, when a person is in trance and you're asking them to go through some situation that's traumatic, they're all alone, aren't they? But if they feel your touch, they know you're right there. I can't tell you how many hundreds of times when people ask me the question, they say, I feel safe, I feel protected. I'm not going through this alone. Now, there's a secondary indicator to me. You'll notice a lot of time, most of the time, if I'm doing these stand-up inductions, because I'm a lefty, I'll put my left hand on the back of the neck. Because I want to feel the neck muscles. The neck muscles are the very last to relax and the very first to tense up. So if I get a person and I just do a rapid induction and I sense those neck muscles are a little tight, they're not as deep as I want them to be. So as I just rotate their head with suggestions of going deeper, and all the time I'm feeling those muscles and I can feel them let go and let go and let go until they're really loose, like a loose bunch of rubber bands. And then I know I have a beautiful deep level of trance at that point, you see. Touching a person is another form of communication. And it's not a one-way street. They're feeding back to you how they're feeling at any given moment by the tightness of their muscles, things on that order. But again, many people are not comfortable doing it. So if you're not comfortable, you stay away from it because it won't be right.
How about the forehead? Is there a reason why you work a lot with the
You bet.
forehead? Fun?
You'll see me do a lot of touching on the forehead and tapping on the forehead. The reason I do this is because, let me ask you, how many things can your conscious mind think of at the same time? One. Now you can leap from idea to idea, thought to thought in a millisecond. It seems like you're thinking about lots of things at the same time, but it's not true. You're thinking about one thing. So if I want somebody to do something that they might have a tendency to analyze a little bit, what I'll do is I'll just keep boinking them on the forehead. Now, while I'm boinking them on the forehead, what are they doing? They're focusing their conscious mind on the boinking. They're saying, if that SOB doesn't stop that, I'm going to belt them. Meanwhile, I'm firing the suggestions right past into the subconscious mind, and they have much more powerful effect. So boinking of the forehead, again, if you are of that ilk, if that's comfortable to you, is a very powerful way of distracting the conscious mind. If you're uncomfortable with it, don't do it, because it will be sensed by both of you as not being right for the situation you're in. I wouldn't know how to do hypnosis without. Now, some people I don't touch, ever. If a woman's coming to me for a sexual dysfunction, not only am I not going to touch, I'm not going to be in a room alone with her. Like a physician who's examining a woman is going to have a nurse in there. He wouldn't even think twice about that. You know, you get your shorts hung out to dry real quick here. So, or if I don't feel comfortable with that person, for some reason I can't put my finger on, but I just think it would be inappropriate, I'm not going to do it. Now, those are very small percentages of the people that you work with. I always ask them ahead of time. Well, I didn't ask her, but we're in class. I figured it's okay here. But if I'm working with a woman, I'll say in the pre-talk, as we do the work, do you mind if I tap you on the shoulder? Or maybe tap you on the forehead or on the wrist? Because a lot of time I put exclamation points on suggestions. And when you see me on a couple of videotapes, you'll see me actually tapping people like on the arm as a, and that's the way it needs to be done. Boink, boink, boink. And each one of those are adding energy and power to the suggestion. Called the boinking effect. Did that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Intelligently?
Yes, sir.
Got past that one.
Why do we try to sleep there?
Why not? She said, why did I tell her to sleep well? That's a general suggestion that I give to people because most people like that idea. I rarely come up against people who say, I don't want to sleep good. Almost, matter of fact, I've never ran up against somebody who said that. But I've run up against people who have been having trouble sleeping. Their minds wouldn't shut off. They've had busy heads. And this has a tendency to stop that and give them a nice good night's sleep. It's kind of a little kiss on the forehead I give them for being my victim, you see. Where it's inappropriate to give them a kiss on the forehead. You give them a good night's sleep. That seems to be appreciated by most individuals, you see.
Yeah, would anybody and everybody have been able to do what she did?
Yep. As long as she's following instructions.
What percent of the population can follow the instructions?
99 point change. And I have failed with this 3 times in my career. And all 3 times it was my fault, not their fault. I picked people who didn't want to be there. And after about the 3rd time, I realized I better sense whether they want to be there or not before I do this. See, that's the secret. See, this is a simple thing. This is not a difficult task. This is a very easy thing. You know, when we get into some of the more difficult things that you ask people to do, well, then you got to even look at them a little closer, you see. You have a quizzical look on your face.
Yes, I do. I realize it.
Have you ever done this?
I've never done that for a person. No.
Do you think you have the...
I've given them direct suggestions after I've gone through the formal induction process. But to simply say, I want you to wrap your mind around this idea and boy, it's going to happen. No, I have not done that. I've watched you do it on the videos and I thought to myself, I wonder if he's really squeezing that on. I wonder if he's really, I mean, can that all be like an act where it's just real hard to make it happen or look like it's happening? And so I never had the courage to do it with one of my clients because I didn't know if it was really true.
Have I ever introduced you to my friend Alice? We'll play with Alice a little bit later. Have you ever had it done to you?
No.
Would that be interesting for you?
Is that kind of scissors you have?
There's those pinking
What is that in the hand?
These are called Alice clamps. They're like little alligators with serrated edges. And there's 2 clicks.
Okay.
And later on in the class, what we do is we take somebody and we put it on them and we close it to the 2nd notch.
I had to ask. But okay. Maybe I need to unlearn some of the things I've learned.
I would think that would be the case.
I know, I understand that. I understand. But to do that, according to the training I've had, for that level of anesthesia, you have to be down to level 5 or something like that. And to just get that level 5 simply by saying, I want you to wrap your mind around this idea. And I know, I mean, I've read Ellman, and I've struggled with that book, saying, is this really possible?
Yeah, is it really
Is
possible?
it real? How does it happen?
How
And
does it
can-
happen?
And how can I learn how to do that with a level of confidence?
Come here. You want to do it? Or you want to have it done to you?
Both. That's why I came here.
All right, well, come on up here. You see, it's all a matter of whether people want to work with you or not. You want to work with me?
Yes.
All right, turn around this way. So I have your arm over here. Let your mind drift back to when you were a little girl. When you were a little girl, Did you play with dollies too?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
When you were a little girl, you had a wonderful ability to pretend, though, didn't you?
Mhm.
And maybe it wasn't with dollies, but you had something else in your life that was a wonderful thing that you were able to pretend.
Mhm.
Maybe some great adventure. You were a heroine saving the world. Give me something to work with here. What did you pretend when you were a little girl a lot?
That I could fly.
Cool. And that was so real to you, wasn't it?
I believe I was doing it. I dreamt it.
Okay. Close your eyes. Now that's all I want you to do again. I want you to cast off this adult mind you're lugging around. I want you to cast off this analytical you. And I want you to be that little girl again in your mind. And I want you to allow yourself to pretend with the same power that that little girl could pretend. And this is what I want you to make believe right now. That those eyes of yours are just totally locked down. Not a frightening thing. You know, if you wanted to, you could open them. But just pretend that that power of that flying little girl had is now the same energy that allows you to pretend your eyes are locked in that down position. Are you doing that? And that's all I want you to do. And you'll be able to stand in perfect balance, no problem whatsoever, and just keep concentrating on your eyes. While you're concentrating on your eyes, I'm going to work here. You know I'm here. But you know, as long as you keep pretending as well as you are that those eyes are just totally locked down in that position, nothing I do here is going to affect or disturb you in any way. You just know I'm over in this area. It's no big deal whatsoever. Open your eyes. Quit pretending. What are you looking at?
I'm looking at fingernail marks.
Deep ones.
Fingernail marks.
Big old gouges, aren't they?
Yeah.
You did good. Are you proud of yourself? What did you feel?
Didn't feel those deep fingernail marks. I felt something, but it wasn't deep.
Pressure.
Yeah.
No discomfort, was there?
Mm.
Think there should have been a little discomfort?
Yeah.
Okay, go away. We'll help you out and go in the whole route later on, but that's just a little taste. Now, to have that level of ability to block discomfort, you had to be in Cleveland. That's another term for somnambulism that we use. It's becoming more and more interchangeable. I'm going to be killed. Anybody in Cleveland buys this tape, I can see that right now. You like that? You're still looking at me quizzical, but we'll talk about it later. How did that happen? I don't understand how that happened. Let's talk about inductions for a minute. We're going to have you making up inductions. Inductions are not important. They're the least important part of a hypnosis session. But for any induction that you want to use, whether it's a standard formalized induction that we use, whether it's an Elman induction or a rapid induction or a fractional relaxation induction, doesn't matter. There are three things needed before any induction has a chance of working with an individual. Once you have those three things, anything will be an induction and work beautifully. First, you need to enhance the imagination of the individual. Get them to imagine they're going to be successful. This only takes a couple of words. I'll show you how in a minute. Second, create mental expectancy. Remember the rule again, what the mind expects to happen tends to be realized. Enhancing the imagination and creating mental expectancy. That's simply done this way. I hear you want to be hypnotized, is that right? Yes, I do. Well, if you do exactly what I ask you to do, you'll be able to enter hypnosis beautifully. And you're going to enjoy every minute of it. Is that okay with you? Yeah, and you're going to do terrific. I am? Yes, you are. That's enhancing the imagination, creating mental expectancy. And then the third thing is the really one. If you get nothing but the third thing, you'll win anyway. You can't lose. It's impossible, totally impossible, not to be able to hypnotize a person if you have the third thing. Even if you're blind, crippled, and crazy, you will still hypnotize a person if you have the third thing. And that simply is, you've got to have the hypnotic contract. Now, what is the hypnotic contract? It's very simple. You simply say to a person, now this can be verbal, or if people are just going with you, it just is there automatically. But basically you're saying to a person, I'm now ready to hypnotize you. I will always treat you in a professional manner. I'll always give you those suggestions or therapies that the many years that I've been in the work have told me will work the best for you. And then the one they like to hear, although you have no control over it, they do. I will simply make sure that no harm comes to you at all. You see, that's all you can offer anybody is your very best, isn't it? That's your half of the contract. Now, if hypnosis is going to work, they must uphold their half of the contract. Their half of the contract's really easy compared to yours. It simply goes like this. Okay, I feel you're qualified to do the work. Therefore, I will instantly, I won't think about it. I won't analyze it. I will instantly do whatever you tell me to do. After I do it, if for any reason I don't like it, I will just as instantly remove it. That's the hypnotic contract. Now, a client understands a contract. They understand when they go to the store, they got to give them the money to get the milk. That's a contract. We have a tendency of thinking contracts of big things like houses or boats or things on that. No, everything in life is a contract. You agree to meet somebody for dinner. They show up, you both upheld the contract. And the hypnotic contract is no different. Now, once you have the hypnotic contract, yes.
I remember that first sentence. I will instantly do whatever you tell me. I don't remember this part where if I don't like it, is that new? I mean,
No.
have you added that or have you always used that?
I've always used it.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't use it on the tape you watched for some reason.
Okay.
Nobody's perfect, but
Okay. Okay.
jump on it because it's important.
Yes, it is.
Because you can just as instantly remove it. And that's true.
It's very
That's true.
What did you say?
Where the person says, okay, I trust you, therefore I will instantly do whatever you ask me to do, knowing that after I do it, if I don't feel comfortable, if I don't like it for any reason, I can instantly remove it just as quickly. Now, you see, if you have that contract, anything you do, I don't care what it is, as long as you explain to the person how you expect them to respond when you do it, will cause the person to go into hypnosis. You can say anything. It doesn't matter. I want to drop the pencil on the floor. When you hear me when you hear it hit the floor, your eyes close, your full head falls forward on the chest, and you drop into a beautiful deep state of hypnosis. Who wants to be hypnotized? All right. Whoever does, put your stuff on any pads or pencils on the floor. Sit up straight in your chair. We will then, I will ask you, is there anybody here who is not willing to have the hypnotic contract with me? All right. Then you understand that as we go through this process, you will instantly do whatever I ask you to do without any question whatsoever. You're going to enjoy it. Of course, if I ask you to do anything that's uncomfortable for you, you'll just instantly undo it, but you'll do it first. So, one of the things when you do hypnosis with people is make sure they got their glasses off. Glasses can become uncomfortable. Don't cross any arms or legs. Stay in a position where your body will be able to relax nicely. And we will do the infamous pen drop induction. Let me get my hypno chair out here. It's a very special chair. Pull my pants up. I have a tendency to slip down a little. I'll edit that out. Once I did this, there was a ceiling fan up here. I didn't... Okay. I'm going to hold this pen up like this. Here's what I expect you to do. I want you to focus your eye right here on the tip of the pen. As you look at it, I want you to let your mind and body start to relax. Just let yourself get kind of snugly comfortable. After a short period of time, I'm going to let this pen drop. When you hear it touch the floor, hit the floor, here's what I expect you to do. I expect you to close your eyes. Let your head fall comfortably forward on your chest. And allow your mind and body to begin to relax very deeply. Allow each breath you exhale to help that process more effectively. And you'll enjoy it, and I'll emerge you from the state after a few moments where you have a little taste of a nice, comfortable feeling of relaxation. Okay, so just focus your eyes on the end of the pen. When it hits the floor, your eyes close, your head falls forward on the chest. Your mind and body are allowed to go into a beautiful state of peace and tranquil relaxation. Just focus on your breathing. Allow every muscle to relax even more deeply with every breath you exhale. Touch my hand on your shoulder helps you to relax even more. Touch my hand and the sound of my voice helps you to relax much more. The deeper you go, the better you feel. The better you feel, the more and more you're able to relax. Always with feelings of comfort, quiet, and calmness running through your mind, running through your body. Just let yourself go more deeply relaxed. Let every breath guide you more and more relaxed. Letting go, drifting down, just giving in to a beautiful feeling of calm and serenity. I want you to notice something inside of you. I want you to notice now, let your mind calmly focus on this, that each time you exhale a nice soft breath, you just feel more and more relaxed. Your mind grows more and more at peace with the world. You feel better. Each time you go into this state, you can easily let yourself go more relaxed than the time before. Each time you go into this state, you begin to realize that the more you allow you to go into this state, the better you feel, the more you will be able to accomplish in every area of your life. All right, at the count of 3, let your eyes open. Let your mind grow clear and just notice how good you feel. 1, 2, 3. Now open those eyes and notice how good you feel. How do you feel? Say, I feel good like I knew that I would.